Hello world, my name is Keith and I host two channels here on YouTube. This channel right here, which is Keith's Universe. On Keith's Universe, I tend to focus on leftist social political issues ranging from human rights to animal rights. But you can also check me out on my main channel. My main channel is called Nerdy Keith. On Nerdy Keith, that is my nerd culture channel. I also do a little bit of daily vlogging and nerdy tech reviews and other educational type videos. As you can already tell by the title of this video, today will be a topic related to feminism yet again. I felt that there is a need for some demystifying on certain issues relating to feminism. It seems to me that we still have this doubt in some people's minds around the question of if men can be feminists. Now, obviously, I will argue that men can, of course, and should be feminists based on the baseline understanding to what feminism is, which is the promotion of the equality of the sexes, i.e. the advocacy of gender equality. Now, I know there's going to be some folks out there who will say, well, can't you just call yourself a humanist? Well, I used to think like that. I used to say things like, well, I'm not a feminist, but I still support gender equality. So I'm afraid there's a couple of problems with that position. Firstly, it's an oxymoron to say that you support gender equality while at the same time you don't regard yourself as a feminist. Gender equality is the core principle of feminism. Secondly, you can totally be a humanist and feminist both at the same time. I would argue that feminism is a subset of the humanist philosophy. Along with being an ally for the trans community and supporting the rest of the LGBTQ+, supporting racial minorities, and many other groups. To suggest that I should only call myself a humanist and not call myself a feminist, you might as well suggest that I can't define myself as a supporter for Black Lives Matter or Stop Asian Hate. It's pretty much the same sentiment when you think about it, because I am supporting a sentiment of treating all human beings with the same dignity and the same respect. So with that in mind, I think it is very useful to approach all of this with a very pro-intersectional mindset. In my experience, that seems to be the most effective means to embrace feminism and humanism as a whole. When discussing topics like this, I think it is so very important to hear from other feminists, particularly women, to share a broader context. So by any means, don't just take my word for it. This is what other feminists have to say on this topic.
Sexism brings with it problems for men as well. The leading cause of death for men under the age of 50 in this country is taking their own lives. Men are more likely to lose custody of their children in divorce battles. So the ideas of what you are as a gender have bullshit on both sides. And the only thing that will cure that is feminism, is being able to use these tools that feminism gives us to go, what are the problems associated with gender? Do you want to conform to your gender stereotype? Are there things in that stereotype that are making you unhappy or limiting your life? Then let's use these tools of analysis to take them apart.
The gender system as a whole isn't just bad for women, it's very bad for men too. It saddles men and women with so many limiting stereotypes, whether it's for women, the idea that you have to be pretty and motherly and shy and quiet, or for men, this idea that in order to have social value, you have to be aggressive and competitive and angry, and all these expectations that we now know cause so much suffering.
It's quite clear that gender inequality not only makes women suffer, but it also makes men suffer too. Men die younger than women. They're often not in touch with their emotions. They're often not in touch with their children. So gender equality also benefits men.
This is really important for our young boys and our young girls who hear our moms and dads and big brothers say, yes, absolutely, I believe in gender equality. And say something early. It doesn't have to be perfect, but just say something. You can fumble your way through it, speak up, and be a leader in this. Feminist boys are our future men.
So as you just heard, there are a lot of feminist women who not only agree that men should be feminists, but are also very much in support of us getting on board and supporting the cause, supporting gender equality. So one of the more common points made within those clips that I just shared and included in this video is this ideology that toxic attitudes surrounded around gender do in fact also affect men as well as women. So I would argue that this is very noticeable, especially when it comes to the idea of toxic masculinity. This not only promotes an unhealthy subjection and promoted dominance over women through an obsession with control, but it also promotes other very unhealthy attitudes and mentalities for men. These ideologies that men should never express emotions, sensitivity, or even cry. So as we've heard all of the points from these feminist women, who I agree with wholeheartedly, it is so very important to realize that the goal of feminism really is gender equality. Equal treatment of the sexes and of the genders. Now usually when it comes to me illustrating our basis of our understandings of terms like this, I usually like to pop up a dictionary definition and a screenshot, but feminism is a much richer and much broader philosophy, and I felt that a dictionary just wouldn't cut it. As a side note, I don't usually use Wikipedia for videos as a source, but this particular entry is heavily sourced itself and therefore backed up. Feminism is a range of social movements, political movements, and ideologies that aim to define and establish the political, economic, personal, and social equality of the sexes. Feminism incorporates the position that societies prioritize the male point of view, and that women are treated unjustly within those societies. Efforts to change that include fighting against gender stereotypes and establishing educational, professional, and interpersonal opportunities and outcomes for women that are equal to those of men. Feminist movements have campaigned and continue to campaign for women's rights, including the right to vote, hold public office, work, earn equal pay, own property, receive education, enter contracts, have equal rights within marriage, and maternity leave. Feminists have also worked to ensure access to legal abortions and social integration, and to protect women and girls from rape, sexual harassment, and domestic violence. Changes in female dress standards and acceptable physical activities for females have often been part of feminist movements. Some scholars consider feminist campaigns to be the main force behind major historical societal changes for women's rights, particularly in the West, where they are near universally credited with achieving women's suffrage, gender-neutral language, reproductive rights for women. Although feminist advocacy is and has been mainly focused on women's rights, some feminists argue for the inclusion of men's liberation, which I would also agree with its aims, because they believe that men are also harmed by traditional gender roles. And that right there is the essence to why men can and are feminists. So when talking about gender-related issues, I will call myself a feminist unless I am talking about a much broader and much wider issue of equality and discrimination. Then I will simply call myself a humanist. Now I know some people prefer the term egalitarian, and look, hey, if you want to call yourself an egalitarian, and you can use that as a means to promote equality of all facets of humanity, by all means, call yourself an egalitarian. Me personally, I'm going to call myself a humanist. Obviously, when we are dealing with gender equality issues, I'm going to obviously call myself a feminist. And I really don't think this is a case of me mansplaining feminism to others, because a lot of my arguments are inspired by what many women have said about feminism. And a lot of what they say, by the way, arguably all of what they say, makes a lot of sense. And I resonate with that. So I would really encourage other men to really consider what these wonderful women are saying, really listen to what they're saying. And perhaps their words can also resonate with you too. Because the way I look at this issue is this: if we have more people supporting gender equality, we have a much greater chance of achieving gender equality for both men and for women. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. It would be really appreciated if you could comment down below, like this video, share it on social media, would be really awesome. And feel free to submit a video response if you're interested. The video response tag will be included down below in the description. And until next time, as always, freedom, peace, and love.